Finally, the sailors were ready to leave for Tarshish. Jonah was relieved. Maybe he could get away from God after all. But God still knew what Jonah was up to. As the ship crept across the Mediterranean Sea, God sent a violent storm. Winds roared through the sails like a tornado, and waves pounded the sides of the ship. "The boat will break into pieces and we'll drown," wailed the sailors over the howl of the wind and the waves. "What have we done to deserve this?" Every sailor cried to his own God to save them, but the seas grew higher and higher. The captain stood in the middle of the ship, his arms wrapped tightly around the mast. "Throw some of the cargo overboard," he shouted. "The ship will be easier to control." The sailors did as the captain commanded, but the boat still tossed about like a cork on the waves. Meanwhile, the captain opened the wooden latch and peered into the dark hold. He couldn't believe his eyes. Jonah lay fast asleep, snoring like an elephant. "Jonah, how can you sleep?" yelled the captain. "Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he'll feel sorry for us and save our lives." "Please don't punish us for taking this man's life." The sailors grabbed Jonah and tossed him into the crashing waves, and the sea instantly became as still as glass. The ship was saved. God wasn't ready to let Jonah die. As the runaway prophet tumbled towards the bottom of the ocean, God sent an enormous fish to swallow him up. The fish liked this idea. It was hungry. It opened its jaws as wide as possible, sucking Jonah into its enormous mouth. Jonah slid across its slimy pink tongue and nosedived into its dark, empty belly. It was steamy, sticky, and black as midnight. Jonah's heart quaked with fear, and he fell to his knees, and he wept. "Okay," Saul finally said to David, "go, fight the giant, and may our God be with you." He put a bronze helmet on David's head and gave him a coat of armor to wear. David's heart pumped a little faster. He grabbed a spear and walked towards the battlefield, but he didn't get very far. I can't wear all this armor. It's too big and heavy." He ripped off the bronze helmet and gave the armor back to Saul. "Don't worry, I have another plan." David knew that Goliath had 4 nasty sons. Holding his shepherd's stick, he picked 5 smooth stones from a nearby stream and shoved them in his pocket. Now, he was ready for battle. With his sling in his hand, David strolled towards Goliath. Goliath had waited for 40 days, and he was ready to fight.
"Am I a mad dog? Is that why you're carrying a stick?"
laughed Goliath.
"Why don't you Israelites give me a real soldier to fight?"
David slowly twirled his empty sling and waited.
"Come closer,"
he challenged David.
"I'll give your body to the birds and animals to eat."
David looked Goliath straight in the eye. "You come against me with a sword and a spear," said David, "but you don't scare me. I come against you in the name of the Lord, the God of this army." Goliath nearly choked. How dare this Israelite boy threaten him? But David hadn't finished. "Today, God will hand you over to me. I'm going to kill you and give the bodies of the Philistines to the birds and animals. Then the whole world will know there is a God in Israel. In the fields near Bethlehem, a small group of shepherds was guarding their sheep and goats that night. Suddenly, an angel of God appeared above them with a flash. The shepherds covered their faces and stumbled backwards into the thistles. What was an angel doing here? "Don't be afraid," said the angel. "I'm here with good news, which will bring everyone joy." The shepherds lay amongst the thistles, holding their breath. They were still too frightened to move or say a word. The angel continued, "Today in Bethlehem, a baby was born who is the Messiah. You'll find him wrapped in cloth and lying in a manger." All at once, the sky lit up with an army of angels praising God and singing, "Glory to God, and on earth peace and goodwill among the people." The Magi arrived at the royal palace and made their way up the shiny marble steps.
"When did this star appear?"
asked Herod, leaning towards them. The Magi knew the king was as cunning as a fox. They glanced at each other and answered very carefully. King Herod drummed his fingers on his throne.
"Go and meet this newborn king,"
he finally said, waving his hand towards Bethlehem.
"Let me know when you find him. I want to worship him too."
But the king didn't want to worship Yeshua. He wanted to kill him. Herod believed there was only one king of the Jews, and it was himself.